is Raquel Gardner, and I am a behavioral neurologist at UCSF and the San Francisco VA, where I evaluate patients with cognitive and behavioral issues. And I'm also a research fellow at the San Francisco VA, where I work with Christine Yaffian, as well as Gil Rabinovich at the Memory and Aging Center, studying traumatic brain injury and how that impacts risk for dementia in older adults. So I guess my interest in the brain really has its roots in my undergraduate experience where I studied neuroscience. I was just completely fascinated by neurobiology, neuroscience, neurons and networks of neurons. And this interest was really fostered by an early research experience that I had the privilege and the honor to have in the lab of Dr. David Hubel, who's actually one of the founders of the field of neuroscience. And this sort of grew into increasing interest more in clinically oriented research, where I had experiences working with clinical researchers both at Mass General in Boston and then at the Memory and Aging Center at UCSF. And this really fostered an interest for me in what is it that makes certain patients very vulnerable to neurodegenerative disease while others can remain very resilient. My particular area of interest is in how having a traumatic brain injury impacts your risk for neurodegenerative diseases later in life, and whether that's chronic traumatic encephalopathy, this disease associated with football players, or just Alzheimer's disease or any number of other neurodegenerative conditions. There's some evidence from animal studies in people that when you have a brain injury, a lot of changes take place in the neurons, in the blood vessels, and this has the potential to set up a cascade in the brain that then later leads to neurodegeneration and dementia, such as Alzheimer's disease. So I'm really interested in understanding more about that relationship and those mechanisms that could underlie the relationship between brain injury and dementia. I think that the field of Alzheimer's research is at an extremely exciting time. We're every day discovering more and more about mechanisms of Alzheimer's disease, risk factors for Alzheimer's disease, identifying potential drug targets for Alzheimer's disease, and I think that within my career, I believe strongly that we will have disease-modifying treatments for Alzheimer's disease. So I just think it's an extremely exciting time to be in this field. So I was extremely honored and grateful to receive this Junior Scientist Award from the Alzheimer's Association. And I already definitely have plans to use some of the award towards attending the international conference in Copenhagen this year, where I have the privilege of assisting Christine Yaffian in organizing a featured research symposium all about traumatic brain injury and dementia. With the remaining bits of the award, I imagine that I will use that in some way to sort of further the research that I'm doing, whether it's materials for the research, equipment, textbooks, courses. So I'm very, very grateful for the award.